Hey, so I finished up some castings today, and casting is something I'm newer to, so I'm experimenting and playing a bit with trying to get certain models to cast correctly. And I kind of am enjoying the process, even though not all my castings are coming out, which is disappointing. It is kind of cool to try and figure out why. So today I cast these are for my new collection that's hopefully coming out about mid next month. It's these little eyes, and I'm having this issue where, see how it's got a hole in that casting. Let me grab one, just one second. So it's getting these little holes in the back plate, and these ones are actually the smaller the holes, but it also, like, this one didn't fill these eyelashes all the way. And so I'm having some issues with that. Now, when I sprued them on the back on this corner, and you can see that on, like on this one, you can see I sprued it kind of at an angle on the back corner. So it was kind of like this on the tree, and the sprue was here. And I was trying to troubleshoot that, and I think what happened is when I made the original model to make the mold of, I didn't think about it, and I made the back 22 gauge. So it's recommended that you do 1 millimeter thick for casting, and I think that's about 18 gauge. And I didn't do that. So this is kind of an experiment. But on this one that I did today, I experimented with spruing it in a different spot. The reason that I originally sprued it in the back like that was it was a flat surface. I thought, oh, it'll be really easy to clean up the sprue, and it's, you know, a large flat surface. But I wasn't thinking that it's a thin spot, and actually the outside wires are thicker than the back. So you really need to sprue it at a thick spot, so it's going from thick to thin instead of thin and then having to go back out to thick when you're pouring the metal. And so what I noticed on this tree is that this one and this one, I actually sprued on this bottom wall, like here, and they actually filled all the way, even though the back was 22 gauge, which is technically thinner than what they recommend. They came out, they cast fully. So maybe your sprue location is really important as well. So that's exciting to see that I just changing the sprue location actually resulted in complete castings. So I'll have to do another run of these and try it where I sprue all of them. At that point, the other thing that I also did was I actually raised the whole temperature of the kiln. I had it at a whole temperature of 900 degrees, and I raised it up to 1,100 because I don't have an electromelt. I'm melting all my metal with a torch. I think the time from when I take the flask out of the kiln, set it on the vacuum caster, then melt the metal and pour it in, the flask is cooling down. So by the time that I actually have the metal melted and poured in, the flask is no longer at 900 degrees. So if I started at a higher temperature, it'll cool down to a lower temperature and hopefully be the temperature I need when I cast. So see, it's like this detective work of like what went wrong, what went right, what can I change, what can I do differently to get better castings. And even though I'm getting like incomplete castings, I am learning things as I go. So it's exciting for me, and I don't view these as failures at all. So on this tree, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5. 2 of them filled completely. I am actually going to be using some of these ones that have holes in them in the collection. You'll see what I'm going to do with it. I have a really cool idea. Hopefully it works out really well for those technically incomplete castings. So moving on, I have also in this flask, I had some castings that were carved from wax. Instead of those were injected into mold, so it's injection wax. This was carving wax, and I carved this little moon, and I carved this little moon, and they got a lot of texture on it. I don't know if you can see that. And I had heard that you wouldn't be able to, I should say, steam dewax carving wax models, and that's what I do with my injection wax. I steam it out instead of burn it out in my kiln. And I thought, well, like I might as well try, like there's no harm in trying, right? Well, I think it was a combination of one, I had nixed my investment,